العليم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب شديد العقاب ذي الطول لا إله إلا هو إليه المصير ما يجادل في آيات الله إلا الذين كفروا فلا يغررك تقلبهم في البلاد كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح والأحزاب من بعدهم وهمت كل أمة برسولهم ليأخذوه وجادلوا بالباطل ليدحضوا به الحق فأخذتهم فكيف كان عقاب وكذلك حقت كلمة ربك على الذين كفروا أنهم أصحاب النار الذين يحملون العرش ومن حوله يسبحون بحمد ربهم ويؤمنون به ويستغفرون للذين آمنوا ربنا وسعت كل شيء رحمة وعلما فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقهم عذاب الجحيم ربنا وأدخلهم جنات عدن التي وعدتهم ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم وقهم السيئات ومن تق السيئات يومئذ فقد رحمته وذلك هو الفوز العظيم
إن الذين كفروا ينادون لمقت الله أكبر من مقتكم أنفسكم إذ تدعون إلى الإيمان فتكفرون قالوا ربنا أمتنا اثنتين وأحييتنا اثنتين فاعترفنا بذنوبنا فهل إلى خروج من سبيل ذلكم بأنه إذا دعي الله وحده كفرتم وإن يشرك به تؤمنوا فالحكم لله العلي الكبير.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My beloved brothers and sisters, I want to specially welcome you to one of the first in a long series of an internal workshop that will be happening to boost our capacity in order to make sure wherever we go on the streets, on radio station, for lectures, for interactions, we will be able to engage people effectively and to bring them to clearly hear the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and hopefully to bring them back to the deen of Allah azza wa jal. My dear brothers and sisters, as has been advertised, this workshop is going to be practical included. So we expect that you will get your hands on and respond to as many questions as may come from this. So the first thing we are going to start with is we want you to tell us, how does it feel when you hear your voice? Do you feel comfortable with hearing your voice or not? This is the first question we want you to respond to on the group. There are chat boxes around you. Utilize them to respond to that question. While we wait for your answers, we will go into the most critical aspect of the conversation today, which is overcoming the discomfort some of us have upon hearing our own voice. Many of our brothers and sisters, the moment they hear themselves, they say, is this me speaking? They can't believe that this is their voice or this is how they sound. But the question is why? Why do you think you feel your voice is not the way it's meant to be? Or your voice, you believe, does not sound as eloquent as you feel it should be? So let me give you the answers. The first thing is, the moment you speak, there are vibrations that happens around your head. And those vibrations make it that your voice are deeper and they are richer to your own hearing. And because of that, you feel your voice is different to you when you hear it. However, when you record your voice, you will hear your voice through the air waves, the air conduction around where you're recording. And that air conduction you're hearing is thinner and is different from what you hear your voice to be. So what your brain begins to tell you is that I am unfamiliar with this voice. And the moment it tells you you are not familiar with this voice, you begin to see yourself as different. And then you start feeling that discomfort. It does not necessarily mean it is actually different, but your brain does not familiarize itself with this particular voice it is hearing on recording. The next thing why that happens to you is what we call the psychological factor as well. You have built around yourself an identity of how you think you will sound. So over the years, as you have been growing up, you've been expressing yourself on how you think you will sound to people. And the moment you start having that in your thinking process, when you hear a different version, it disrupts that perception of yourself that you have developed. And by extension, you start feeling doubts. Another reason as well why you try to feel discomfort when hearing your voice is that most times we amplify the mistakes that we do. We amplify the errors that we think we have. And the moment we hear ourselves, we look out for those errors and those flaws when we are hearing ourselves speak. So the little details that nobody is listening or nobody is even worried about, you are worried about them. Things like the pitch of my voice, the accent I'm using. All of these things, many people do not focus on it, but you focus on them. Now, the question is, how do you get comfortable with your voice? We've gotten the reasons why now. How do you now get comfort? This is where the practicality now comes into play. But please, I would like to still hear from the participant. Like I say, this is more practical. Do you feel comfortable hearing your voice? Send a comment in the chat box and we'll see it. Now, how do you now break down from all of this discomfort that you feel? You have to understand and accept to yourself that that voice of yours that is recorded is actually your real voice. That is how everybody has heard you. To you, because of what I said earlier, your brain, the waves that conducts in your brain, your skull, has made it richer to you to hear. But every other person you're speaking to, it is the way you hear your recorded voice. That's exactly the way they hear you. So that's your real voice. So you should accept it as normal. You should not accept it as foreign. Take it as something that it's part of you. Remember, this voice you're hearing is only new to you. It is not new to the people you're speaking to because they've been hearing your voice for as long as they've been with you. The next thing you could do is to frequently expose your voice or expose yourself to your voice. What does that mean? You will record yourself speaking daily. Someone asked me, how can I do that? How do I record myself speaking daily? And the answer is very simple. Create the habit of reading the Quran and the translation of the Quran. When you begin to recite the Quran and you begin to read out the meaning of the Quran, you begin to hear your voice more and you expose yourself to it more. And you have to be kind to yourself. You will have to listen to it without any judgments. You will not judge yourself on anything. Just keep recording yourself. Over time, you will normalize hearing your own voice. Why? Because your brain will become desensitized to it and it becomes like normal to you. What you could also do as an extra is that you should always read loud. Most times when we speak in a lower tone and lower level of voice. But what is expected is for you to be audible and loud. The way I'm speaking to you now, everybody and every one of you will hear me, and you will not feel as though I am not very confident. However, if I was speaking very low, some of you will not be able to listen to me because you will get tired. You will strain your ears and you will strain your mind to listen. So you should be reading loudly or increase the tone, increase your voice, the volume as we call it in our local parlance. Increase the volume of your voice. Immediately you have finished, you should try your best to focus more on the clarity of what you are saying. For example, whenever you speak, you begin to speak, you could be speaking and each word may not be coming out clearly. So when you are recording or when you're trying to practicalize all of these solutions we are giving, always try to make sure you are giving out clarity. So for example, what you see on the screen, it says mastering your voice, pacing, and confidence. Every single person who had me recite this or say this knows clearly that every single word came out. What about if I say it this way? Mastering your voice, pacing, and confidence. Some people, it will take them some time to connect the dots of what I just said. That is why it is important that you focus on clarity. So I have one comment. The first one is reading, yes, I feel good and amazing while listening to myself on record. Amazing. Great job. Unique Tech. Thank you very much. So the next thing we are going to be talking about is, if you can, always try to give yourself a positive feedback. So instead of making yourself feel bad about what you're saying, in the reverse, make yourself feel good about what you're saying. For example, in your mind, instead of saying, I sound different, or I sound bad, or I sound weird, replace that thought in your mind with, I believe my voice is unique and clear. That by itself will do one thing for you. It will boost your confidence. It will increase your confidence. And by that increase in your confidence, it gives you enough room to get better at your next speech. So that's the first thing. Doing all of this will make you very comfortable with your voice. But the thing is, public speaking is not only about the discomfort you feel in your voice. It has other things as well. Now, the next thing is, how do you speak? Majority of us speak in a way that is very, very difficult for us to get out what we are saying. What I mean is that we speak too fast. We speak too quick. And for many reasons. Why do we think that we speak too quick? Let me get the response from everybody before I go to the next slide. Why do we think that we speak too fast? Just send the messages, your response on the chats, and I'll see them. We speak too fast sometimes, but why? Okay. All right. So while we wait for people to share with us why they believe people speak too fast, maybe people are shy. Some of you are shy. Please do not be shy. We are all trying to learn on this workshop. If you are shy, then it means you are not ready to learn. So I will really sincerely hope that you will give us the reasons why. And if you are listening to this after we had completed this workshop, please kindly respond to this before I go to the next slide, and that will be so helpful for us in the future. So let me give the answers to some of this question, why people speak too fast. The first one is people are nervous. Okay, I have one response here. It happens sometimes to beat time when you have so many points to share with your audience. So trying to be quick. All right. Thank you very much for that response. I really find it very impactful. So the first reason is people are very nervous. When people are very anxious, they try to beat that anxiousness by speaking too fast. And sometimes it's because of the adrenaline that is produced because of the anxiety and the nervousness that they see or that they feel at the point when they are speaking. The second reason is people are scared that they are going to lose the attention of their viewers. So because they don't want to lose the attention of these viewers, they speak very quickly. And then the last, which is very, very common, is people are not even aware that they are speaking very fast. In fact, there is a scenario that played out when we were trained by our brothers from Discover Islam Bahrain. One of our dear sisters who was trained with us, she happened to be asked to take us on a tour. and practicalize it. The moment she started taking us through the Torah, she began speaking very quickly, to the extent that I honestly believe she was speaking around 60 to 70 words or more in a minute, if not even 100 words a minute. However, when we spoke to her to slow down, she said, I did not know I was too fast. So she was unaware that she was going very fast. So this is another reason why. Whatever the case is, you will be able to understand where that falls with you if you are someone who speaks fast during your speech. Now, this is the problem you face when you speak too fast. You see, since I have been speaking to you, whenever I speak, I give you time to process everything I'm saying so that you will understand what is being said by me. However, if I do not give you time to comprehend and assimilate what I just said, automatically you will lose interest or lose focus or get it difficult to understand anything I'm saying. So this is the first problem you face. The second problem is you reduce the impact that you are intending to make on the people. But not just that, you're also trying to show them you don't have authority upon what you are speaking. The moment you're fast, they are thinking you're trying to catch up so that you can quickly finish and know that you're done with that. So that's the second thing. The last thing is you will most likely reduce the connection that you will have with your audience. The audience may not necessarily have a very good connection with you, and that is not what you want to happen. In public speaking, the most important person is the audience. So you do not want to be the person that break the connection that you are trying to establish with them. So now let us go to the key part. We've seen the problem, we've seen why the problem is a problem and why people are having the problem. Now, how do we now solve the problem? How do we fix this problem? The first is what we call the 1 second rule. So instead of speaking as a whole, like instead of speaking as a stretch, bam, 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 you speak and pause after each sentence. For example, my dear brother said something on the group earlier. He sent a message, Unique Tech. He said, yes, I feel good and amazing while listening to my record, to myself on record. If you observe, I gave a little pause of some 1 second between each of the sentence. When I said yes, there was a small pause. And then when I went ahead to say, I feel good and amazing, there was a small pause. That 1 second pause can make or break the attention of your audience. I want you individually to pick a particular sentence. It could be a verse of the Quran. It could be anything. Immediately, I give you the chance right now to speak. I want you to pick something close to you, and I want you to read it with the 1 second rule. I'm going to give you the next 20 seconds for you to do so. So in the next 20 seconds, read a particular sentence with a 1 second rule and tell me how you feel about it. All right, so 20 seconds is up. How did you feel about reading what you just read now with a 1 second rule? Comments on the chat box while I go on to the next section, inshallah. So the second thing is that for you to slow down in your pace or for you to reduce speaking too fast, you will have to try to breathe naturally. So instead of rushing and being fast, breathe naturally between each of your sentences. So let me give you an example. Public speaking is powerful. You see, I took a breath there. It allows you to connect with people. You can see the impact that little pause of that breathing naturally I did between these two things. You can see the impact it is having in what I just said. So now I will say it, but without saying that I'm giving a break to breathe naturally. So let's take it again. Public speaking is powerful. It allows you to connect with people. So you can see now it is coming off as very, very impactful and powerful. So I still am waiting for your 1 second rule that you took a small practice on and put it in the chat box, please. Like I said, this is a practical class and we need it to be practical. You're not listening so that you could just listen and move on to the next one. You're listening so that you can impact it in your day-to-day activity. So do this right now and then put your comment. So if you're also listening after this workshop has been concluded, make sure that you put your comments, how you felt after utilizing the 1 second rule. The next section of how you can handle speaking very fast and reduce it completely is to make emphasis on very important words. Like words that are very, very key to you, you make emphasis on it. You can see even now that I'm speaking, you could see where I'm making emphasis on. I said when I was saying important words, I made emphasis on it. So that when you are listening to me, you know that that is where I am stressing my energy upon. So when you're speaking, you speak and emphasize on areas where they are important words. What I'm trying to say is this. You should feel comfortable of pausing and emphasizing a particular word. That means if I'm speaking to a non-Muslim and I want to emphasize the oneness of Allah using Surah Al-Ikhlas, I can tell him and say, God Almighty spoke to us through the Quran and said very clearly, God is one. Qul huwallahu ahad. That God is one. You can see I am making emphasis on that particular section. If I wanted, I can give a pause and then emphasize on that particular area. So that's the other way that you can reduce the habit of speaking very fast. The next thing is you can use what is called metronome, or speaking with rhyme or rhythm. So instead of speaking with one tone, or speaking with just a single tone, you could speak with rhythm. So instead of saying, as I took earlier, let me give you an example of what I read earlier. Public speaking is powerful. It allows you to connect with people. Speaking with confidence is crucial. You can see how it's like a monotonous speech. But what we are looking at right now is not focusing on monotonous. We are trying to focus on the rhythm as well. If you see the way I'm speaking, I'm not speaking with a single tone to all of you. I'm speaking one time, I am high in speech, my tone, and sometimes I'm low. Or sometimes I speak with the same and then I increase my volume or reduce the volume. That's the same way you can also establish a rhythm. So instead of making it just one single monotonous tone, you will make it in a metronome, having rhythm inside your speech. This is one of the reasons why no matter how much you want to castigate the Quran, it is the most beautiful speech because it contains rhythm, a lot in it. So you could also try to incorporate that inside your speech. So there is some advice that I given that you could try your best to imagine that you're clapping between words. So just like a small clap, like you're giving yourself an imaginary thoughts, like someone is clapping and you're trying to sing a song, or this person is clapping and you're trying to say something, or somebody is playing a non-vocal background and you're trying to say something while you're doing so. So that by extension will give you the thought process to say your speech in a more beautiful fashion. So now we're at the junction where I really want each and every one of you, everyone, I want you to record yourself. And I want you to record yourself speaking and identify the areas where you are fast and identify the areas where you are slow. Then I want you to then record yourself again, but fixing the mistakes that you have observed. Then when you record yourself fixing those mistakes, send the correct version to me via WhatsApp. Alhamdulillah, most of you who are on this group have my number. And if you don't, just mention on the chat box, we'll send you a WhatsApp link to send me that recording. You record yourself first. After you record yourself, identify the mistakes you've seen, the places you're fast, the places you did not breathe well, the places you did not use the 1 second rule, and then correct those mistakes again, and then send it to me for us to review. This is a practical class, and I hope to see it, inshallah. Now, this is what I want you to do on your own free time, on your own accord, which I know you wouldn't do it. So that is why I actually asked you to do the first one earlier. When you do that first one, I know no matter how, I will get the message from you. I'll get that video from you, and it will show me that you have done something. So if you didn't do it, then it means you did not listen and learn from this entire workshop as well. So in this exercise that I want you to do, I want you to behave as though you are the news anchor and just pick 3 to 4 news headlines. Write it on the paper and then pick the script and then focus only on how clear you are or how clearly you are reading the news headlines. Just focus on it. Pay attention to every single enunciation, the pauses you're making, how fast you're going. Observe all of those things. And then you do it again the next day, but this time with the headline of the next day. Pick another 3 to 4 headlines and repeat the same thing again. And keep on doing that and doing that and doing that again. This is a practice I want you to do on your own. If you don't want to do the practice with this, you could pick 4 verses of the Quran and try it on it. Make sense? Tayyib. What are the key things that we are taking away from this? And this is finally on this section. Why is everybody shy? Put in the comments your assignments that I gave you. Everybody is shy. Apart from Unique Tech, everybody is shy, right? I'll pick you up soon, inshallah. Now, what are the key things you are taking away from this? The first thing is own your voice. Your voice is yours. Your voice is good. Your voice is unique to you. Your voice is special. Nobody can challenge your own voice. Nobody can be like you. You are different. You are unique. So you should own your voice. That's the first thing you should take away from this. It is okay for you to hear your voice differently. While we are taking the key takeaways, if you have questions, please put it on the chat box so that I can respond to them quickly before the end of the workshop. The second takeaway is for you to slow down and pause when you're speaking. Be very comfortable with pausing. Silence sometimes make us go mad or make us feel crazy, make us feel scared. We don't want to be in silence, especially most of us Gen Zs and millennials, and God forbid we talk about the alpha generation. We don't want to hear silence, but you have to be comfortable with that pause, that silence. That's the second takeaway I want you to go with this. The last takeaway is the only reason why you know people are good is because they have practiced regularly. Nobody that you know today that speaks very fluently and very eloquently did it because they naturally are built with it. No, it is because over time they have practiced regularly, and by default, it now became a second nature to them to speak in the manner you heard them speak. Myself that I'm speaking, I have spoken and shared a lot of lectures. If I can count them, I'm sure there will be more than 100 that I've spoken to. Speaking to people on the streets, speaking to people in lectures, speaking to people at home, speaking to people while I am at work. I'm always speaking. So if you regularly practice it, then it means that it will be better and you'll find it much more impactful. So this is what I want you to do. Now, before I conclude and take questions, we are going to be having another workshop in the future. And inshallah, when the time comes, we will see what we are going to be covering. Now, in that particular lecture, I will be covering much more things. But before we cover those things, there is a particular video I want you to watch. And I'm currently putting the video in the chat box. You will see it with you as well. That video, I want you to watch how the charisma, how Muhammad Qahtani, the speaker, how he took his time to introduce the topic he was presenting upon, how he was able to deliver a lot of his message, how he was able to show his body language, how he conveyed the message, how he connected the first speech he did with the last sentence he made, how he connected the loop. I want you to observe it very closely, but most importantly, I want you to observe all these things that we have covered today, how he embodied them in his speech. I'm sure you will learn a lot from him. So please, I want you to listen to him immediately after this workshop. After I end the workshop, don't wait and say, I'll do it later. Do it right away. Open it, click. It's a speech of roughly less than 13, 14 minutes, I think. So you could actually listen to it, and it's really, really impactful and helpful. So with this, I say, Alhamdulillah, and I'm leaving myself to any questions that may come from any of you. Right now, I don't have any question in the chat box, so I'm leaving the floor open. Anybody who has a question among the brothers and sisters who are here, please enter your question in the chat box, and I will do my best to respond to them. We'll give a minute for this, and if we don't have any question, we'll call it a day, inshallah. All right, Alhamdulillah. So it appears we do not have any question from anybody, and I'm happy. I just want you all to practice this. Public speaking is not just theory, it's more in practice. If you do not practice anything you have had today, this workshop is useless to you, and we will never make this workshop to be useless to you. You have to practicalize it. You have to put it in action, and we will get your response. So the assignments I give, I intend to get it as quickly as possible. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you all goodness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you ikhlas in everything that you do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease your affairs and make this a stepping stone for goodness for you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala admit you into Jannah for being part of this. And I hope to see you in the next workshop that we are going to be holding. And with this, I say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.